I never thought the day would come when my entire career would be threatened in a single fluorescent-lit conference room. But that's exactly where I found myself, sitting across from Morgan Voss, the most manipulative, power-hungry manager I'd ever worked under at Halden Tech Industries. My name is Riley Arden, Senior Operations Analyst, and until that day, I'd been the quiet workhorse who made impossible deadlines look easy and held entire departments together with spreadsheets and grit. But Morgan hated people like me, people who didn't kiss his ring, people he couldn't control. When I reported his mishandling of funds, falsified project data, and mysteriously inflated vendor payments, HR mysteriously lost the report, and the next morning I was called into his office. He closed the blinds, locked the door, slid a resignation letter across the table, and said with the fakest smile money could buy, "Sign this or I'll make sure you never work in this industry again." His voice was dripping with confidence, the confidence of someone who believed he was untouchable. And for a moment my chest tightened, fear clawed at me. I had bills, responsibilities, and a career I'd spent 12 years building. But what Morgan didn't know was that while he was busy destroying everyone around him, I'd been quietly gathering my own receipts. So I picked up the pen, exhaled slowly, and pretended to cave. But instead of signing Riley Arden, I signed Riley Arden under protest. One small phrase, 3 strategic words. Morgan didn't even glance at the paper. He snatched it up like he'd just won a championship, acting like he'd defeated me. He escorted me out with security, smirking, believing he'd crushed another employee who dared challenge him. But those 3 words triggered a legal domino effect he didn't see coming. I knew company policy better than he did. I'd built half the damn compliance system myself. A resignation signed under protest automatically converted the document into a contested dismissal, legally requiring an external investigation, not internal, external. And external investigators don't play games. I spent the next 2 weeks living quietly while the corporate world buzzed without me. Then the emails began, then the phone calls, then the panic. The third-party investigation team initially called me to clarify my signature, but when I provided them with full digital backups of Morgan's altered financial documents, proofs of fake vendor accounts he created, screenshots of him messaging employees to falsify hours, and a spreadsheet detailing $14.7 million in questionable expenditures tied directly to his team, their tone changed fast. Suddenly, investigators were interviewing people at Halden Tech at sunrise, seizing office computers, and demanding files from HR. Morgan tried to spin the story, claiming I was a disgruntled employee, claiming the data was fabricated. But investigators had bank records, email timestamps, and digital fingerprints. Meanwhile, employees who'd been terrified of him for years finally spoke up. Some even anonymously leaked damning evidence showing Morgan threatening them, manipulating budgets, and taking cuts from vendor kickbacks. The board panicked, investors panicked harder. Within 96 hours of the investigation going public, Halden Tech stock took its biggest dip in 14 years. Morgan was dragged out of the building by federal agents on a Thursday morning in front of everyone, his hair a mess, tie crooked, shouting that it was all a misunderstanding. He was charged with embezzlement, fraud, coercion, and retaliation. HR executives who lost my report were fired immediately. 2 directors resigned. The CEO went on emergency leave. And me? I got a call from the board's legal team offering a confidential settlement. I declined. What I wanted instead was my job back, a public apology, back pay, and a full correction of records stating I had never resigned. They agreed within 24 hours. The following Monday, I walked back into Halden Tech, not through the side door like they'd forced me to, but through the main entrance where employees actually cheered. The same people who had been too afraid to speak up now stood taller because someone had finally punched back. And here's the craziest part. Halden Tech promoted me to Director of Compliance, the very department Morgan abused so thoroughly. They even asked me to help rebuild the system from the ground up. I accepted, not because I needed the title, but because nobody was ever going to be cornered the way I was again. One small phrase, one smart move, under protest didn't just save my career, it burned an entire corruption ring to the ground and rebuilt the company. And Morgan? Last I heard, he took a plea deal. But honestly, that's not my problem anymore.